Welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. My name is Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and I help private practice owners align their business back with their soul's calling, with their big vision and with their soul's purpose. Unlike other private practice coaches, I've traveled the world in search of spiritual resources, spiritual tools, education and information so that you can have the transformation that your soul desires and needs so that you can up-level your business. How much fun is this? I love it so much. Guys, if you're not already a member of the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group, please check out the show notes. I would love for you to be there. In the meantime, thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. Brooklyn here. Welcome to another episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast. Welcome to all the new subscribers, and thank you so much to everyone who's been listening. I love you so much, and I really want to thank you for all your support for this podcast. Okay, so what I thought I would do is have a conversation with you today around what to do when you get triggered in your private practice, because this is one of the things that they don't cover in those courses that teach you about how to run a private practice. Those courses tend to be all about your booking system and your policies, this and your procedures that. It doesn't go into some of this deeper soul work that you and I love so much. And so I want to share with you today an example from my practice where I did the soul work, and I want to share with you in total honesty and total transparency what that looked like, because I want you to see the value in being able to meet your shadow, do the deeper work, and come out the other side stronger and more empowered than ever before. Okay, so might sound a little bit tragic at the start, but I promise you it's not, and it will be going somewhere. But I guess one of the cold, hard realities of being in business is that we have to balance the feminine side of us, that beautiful feminine energy that wants to connect with others, show up with love and grace, and build those really beautiful relationships with, the coldness, if you like, of running a business. The masculine energy is not about emotion. The masculine energy is about doing stuff. And so it loves, as you know, logic and structure and function. It loves to tick things off, feel like it's achieving all of those sorts of things. So what's going on for us when we're in a situation in the business where we get triggered? Well, it depends really on, I guess, your background. And for me, what happens, and I think I'm not alone when I share this based on the feedback I got from my post, because if you're in my Private Practice with Soul women's group, then you'll know I shared this post, and it landed, and I got a few private messages from women who saw it and said, hey, something similar has happened to them, and now it's really great because I'm going to be able to support them through it. But I think it's just so important that we talk about it openly. So here we go. So, that was what I was going to say. I think some of us are in the wounded feminine space, and I think that's absolutely where I was. But you might see it differently to me, but that's what I'm thinking. So what happened was I've been having a little bit of trauma around my work email as a result of something that happened last year with a client. And, we work in mental health, don't we? And yes, so it was a very difficult time back then, and it did result in quite a traumatic experience for me. And to be completely honest with you, I do have days where I struggle, checking my email, because, sometimes the fear is so palpable and so real, and I think, oh my gosh, what's going to be in the inbox today, and am I strong enough to handle it today? So it still kind of comes back to haunt me every now and again. Most of the time it's fine. Anyway, so it's been fine lately. Good. Until, here we go. the other day I opened up my email and there was something really yucky in there. So somebody had and this happens, I know it happens, it's just not happened to me before, but somebody had sent me an email through the contact me form on my website. Just wasn't a very nice email. It was just very unpleasant. And of course I felt really, really triggered by that. And when I say I felt really, really triggered, what happened was I felt threatened. I felt really, really anxious. I felt flighty, and it all happened so quickly. And in my head, I was a mixture of so many different things. Like I felt really confused, really annoyed, really bothered, really, just couldn't believe what I was reading. And it did make me highly anxious to the point where I ended up closing off the computer and just try and walk away and try and calm myself down in any way that I could. And for me, that's like I want to talk to my girlfriends about what's going on and I want some assurance. And I know nobody can fix things, but you know what it's like. You just scramble for things to do. And it was like all my soul practices went out the window because the anxiety was so high. And so anyway, later that day, I calmed down. So what I did was, as you know, I've got a very masculine body. So I just wanted to go and plop down somewhere and just simmer and just, settle. So that's what I did. And after a little while, later that afternoon, I was calm again. And I've got this little bracelet that I wear that I bought from the Sophia Code. So I think I told you that I've been loving reading that so much. And anyway, I really resonated with one of the female archetypes that's depicted in that book. And I purchased a little bangle and I use that as a little touchstone to remind me that I can connect in with the energy of that archetype. So I was sitting there and I was touching my little bangle and I was reading it because it's got inscriptions all over it. It's beautiful. And I was becoming aware that, okay, I need to reflect on this and maybe I do need to do some journaling. And so I grabbed my iPad and I thought, I'm just going to journal this through. And what I realized as I was journaling, or before I even started to journal, was that I have this, I don't know, it was so weird. Like I just kind of got, how can I explain it? I just knew that I needed to be journaling. And as soon as I made that decision, it was like my awareness just opened up and I had all of these realizations very quickly. One of which was the way that I react to triggers in my practice is the same way that I react to triggers in my life. And we've all got triggers, all right? You have them. Your best friend has them, your partner has them, your kids have them. Like we all have triggers, right? We're human, we're going to have them. And so I realized that the way I react to my triggers is the same, regardless of whether I'm in private practice or in life. So that was the first awareness. And that's why I say to you guys, energy is energy and it shows up in the same way, regardless of where you're at. So I know I told you guys this, but it's always different when you have your own awareness, isn't it? So anyway, that was an aha moment for me. The other thing that I realized was, if this is a pattern, which it is, am I happy with this pattern? And what do I want to do about it? So there are all these kinds of new downloads, new awareness that I experienced as a result of being ready to do the deeper work. And so I'm going to read what I have put in my journal, and I'm just going to read it unedited, word for word, so that you can see what the deeper work looks like for someone else, because there's no right way and there's no wrong way. There's just what comes through your soul for you. There's just the message that your soul has for you. Okay, so if you are in this situation, the guidance that comes from yourself, from your heart space, from your soul might be different to what's come through for mine. But I just want to show you what it can look like. All right. So if I pause for a moment, it's because you know how my handwriting's just really bad, all right? And I wasn't planning on reading this out. Okay, so I always start my journaling with a question. So my question was, how can I release my patterns of reacting to things the way that I currently do? What do I need to do differently to change this moving forward? And then here's what came through. I could upon becoming aware of my trigger, stop for a moment and assure myself that my response is a normal response to have when I feel like I'm being attacked. I could ask myself to check in again and see if it's a true thought that I'm being personally attacked. If it is not a true thought, if, for example, it's simply something like feedback or constructive feedback, I could remember or remind myself that this feeling or this mistake I made or this situation that I find myself in has occurred to guide me up, not to tear me down. So I could ask myself, how am I being guided up in my life or my business by this situation? And why is that something to be thankful for? Why is that a good thing? Now, who'd have thought all of that was there in my heart? So for me, my anxiety, as you remember maybe from a previous episode, my anxiety comes from, I have this tumbling thought that goes back to my childhood, back to the way that I was raised, and my anxiety is about being physically hurt. That's what's at the bottom of it when I tumble down. It's never about the actual situation. It's at the bottom of this is like I'm in physical danger here. So I have to check in with myself and see, is it true that I'm being threatened? Is it true that I'm being attacked? Is it true that I'm at risk of physical harm right now? And no, none of those things were true. So then I can ask myself, okay, how has this situation been given to me by the universe for my growth, to guide me up? How am I going to become better as a result of this experience? How will my practice become better as a result of this experience? And so what I learned was that, while there wasn't an obvious or clear lesson in this person's email for me, what I did learn was that I need to review my boundaries, that I want to make sure that I tighten up my security. And so what I was able to do was I use Microsoft Outlook, and I was able to create rules around things like profanity. So if anything comes through with, not a nice word in it, I'm not even going to see it. It's not going to arrive in my inbox anymore. I can also set up rules to block emails from people who write emails like that. So I've done that. And I can also divert emails into if I want to, into a little folder so that if they have profanity or if I'm blocking them, they can all just kind of go to that folder. I don't do that because I don't want the energy being in that folder. And so, yeah, this is the lesson that I took away. For me, it was really around boundaries. It was also a lesson for me to see that I'm getting better at responding differently to things, because rather than just having a reaction, I'm now able to stop and reflect, and that's a good thing. And I can see how this email and how I've dealt with it has improved my business and improved my life, because it's going to prevent or, significantly mitigate the opportunity for, there's always going to be people that, drip through the system out there, find their way through the little system. But I think for the most part, it's helping me feel like I've got more robust systems in place and feeling more safe in my business. And that was really, really, really important for me. So that was really, really good. And then the other thing that I did was I realized that, this reaction that I have, like I learned it growing up. So I learned how to react to things from my family. So, it was oftentimes, someone will come to the door and they were, I think I told you, like bank ended up foreclosing on our house. I was only a little kid and I was dealing with people like the sheriff and Southeastern Water and all these people coming to the door wanting to disconnect things and stuff like that. And my mum wasn't home. And so I was dealing with it because I was the responsible one because I was the eldest. And so, where was I going with this? This had a point. I forget. I'll come back to it. That's right. And so what I learned was when people were home, when adults were home and, this situation arose, somebody was knocking on the front door to collect money or a payment or something like that, what I observed was a very hysterical reaction to this. When caregivers and aunts and uncles and stuff like that were at my house and we got mail about overdue bills and stuff like that, the reaction was always very emotional, a very big reaction. And so, I guess I just observed that and internalized it. And so for me, whenever I would get an unwanted experience, I was just like, well, this is what you do, right? You have this big emotional reaction to it. So upon this realization, as I was doing this journaling, I thought, okay, so I know where this reaction came from. I've just picked it up along the way and I've internalized it and I've made it my own. But the reality is it's not my own. And I can let that go. And so now I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, how do I want to react to triggers in my business when they come up in future? And to be honest with you, it hasn't been so much a way of choosing or deciding for myself and mapping out my new strategy to dealing with things. It's been and this might sound weird, but I know because you are interested in integrating soul work with your practice, you'll probably understand what I'm going to say. It's really been more a sense of remembering who I was. Does that make sense? It's really been like that realization allowed me to release that behavior that I had. And it was just kind of very natural for me to just say, okay, well, who did I used to be before I learnt this? And how would that version of me, like if I can just remember back then how I would have just dealt with things myself, and can I do that now? So that's kind of what came through for me. And it's really been a process of anchoring into the memory of who I really am that's been able to free me up in terms of behaving differently to triggers and things like that when they happen in my business. So then the next question that came up for me in that journaling was this: what words do I need to hear right now? And I thought that was an interesting statement. And since I, was called to write that down on my iPad, I've since asked a few of my coaching clients and my mentoring clients, well, what words do you need to hear right now in order to X, Y, and Z? And it's been such a powerful question because it's very expansive. It's not constrictive. It's not a question that shuts you down. It's a question that opens you up to looking at things differently and in new ways. So what came through for me, and again, I'm just reading exactly what's on my iPad, so bear with me if I stumble because I can't read my own writing. But again, I just want to be totally honest with you here. So I wrote down, I need to hear that I'm getting better at seeing patterns that don't really support me in aligning with my true self. I need to hear that I'll be able to change these patterns and transform both my inner and outer world. I need to hear that it's understandable that I'd have triggers and that those triggers around my fear of being physically hurt are real. But I also know now that I'm a sovereign woman and I'm no longer under that physical threat. I have my own power. I have a voice now. I'm building a legacy. I can lead by example. I'm constantly expanding and evolving, and it's required that I stop being so reactive to things, minor triggers, and replace that with something, with asking, how is this guiding me up? I don't have to be in the moment, spiritual and calm all the time. I understand that feeling my emotions and exploring them deeply is in fact a spiritual act. I'm no less spiritual when I'm angry and hurt. In fact, I'm aware also that I'm allowing myself to feel fully and into my own emotions. And I get better each time something like this happens. Every time something like this happens, I get better. I'm just doubling up there, sorry. At recognizing the opportunities for my growth in my practice and my life. I'm constantly growing and I get better. And as I get better at it, I feel my confidence building from within, and I feel myself more fully embodying my higher self for the good of myself and for all others. Thank you so much for taking the time today to sit with me and process this from my shadow. I feel so much more aware and at peace than I did before. That's what I wrote. So interesting, right? Now, I'm not sure if you were up for listening to somebody else's journal entries, but as I said, I just wanted to share with you what that process can look like, because as women, when we get triggered, often for us, not all the time, but often for us, we can experience old wounds bubbling up to the surface, and we want to release it because it's not a nice energy. And so the way through healing that wound from the feminine energy when you have a trigger is to really allow yourself to connect. The feminine is all about love, all about nourishing, all about connecting. And that's got to start with you, right? Just like you heard it had to start with me. I had to sit down and I had to do this inner work. And as a result of that, it's been quite a big shift. I'm already feeling lighter and easier and more confident. I've already noticed improvements in my practice and my life. And this is why it's so important that you do more than learn about foundations, and you do more than learn about the processes and the techniques for running a successful private practice. This is why you and I value the role of the masculine and the feminine energy when it comes to building that private practice and flourishing and thriving within it in a way that feels good, because it's a true and authentic representation of who you are at a soul level. And if this is something that you're becoming more and more and more aware of, needing guidance and support with for yourself, and maybe you're thinking about opening a private practice toward the end of the year, or next year or something, and you're wanting to learn what this other side of private practice looks like, then I would absolutely love to speak with you about what it could look like for you, because it's going to look a little bit different for everybody. And so for that reason, hit pause on the podcast and, book a quick chat with me, and let's have a conversation about how we can get some traction happening for your private practice in a way that feels really, 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 really aligned with who you are too. Okay. Now, when it comes to dealing with triggers in your private practice, of course, I want you to be encouraged by what you've heard today to really sit down and allow yourself to do the inner work as well, okay? Because I want you to experience the growth and the confidence and the evolution. The shitty things are going to happen in business, okay? And we don't always have a thick skin, because a lot of us are empaths, which means we take a lot of stuff on. We're not so great at adhering to our boundaries. We might put them in place but break them or bend them a lot. And so this is why doing this work is so, so, so important, okay? Thank you very much for listening to today's episode. I'm so pleased that you're here. I love you so much, and I'm really looking forward to chatting with you and seeing where you're at with your practice and giving you some guidance on how you can support yourself moving forward, regardless of whatever stage you're at with the business. So contact me and let's set something up. I'm here for you. All right. Bye, ladies. Have a beautiful Saturday and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast today. If you're looking for clarity, if you need help with branding, your processes, and bringing everything into alignment with your soul's purpose for your private practice, head to the show notes and click the link for more information about the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group. You are going to love it. I can't wait to see you in there. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.